Guys, welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. Obviously, we're going to doing a preview of the big fight card at the weekend. And we're going to start off by firstly giving a shout out to Stevi Levy. She's, of course, in action at the weekend, as obviously also managed by Dave Allen. Currently 4-0. Opponent yet to be confirmed. But, guys, make sure you go and watch out for that one in the build-up to the weekend. And yeah, we're going to jump straight into it after that. So obviously we are going to start with sorry, I'm coughing. I'm going to throw it straight over to you, Josh.
Easy disgrace. We're all going down with cold and flu here. This is ridiculous. He's muted himself. Scott, can we have a little bit of professionalism, please?
Sorry.
So yeah, so obviously, there's a big card. We're not going to cover it all. So good luck to everyone who is on it. And as Scott said, great to see Stevi Levy getting her opportunity on a big fight card. So we'll start off. We've got Hopey Price versus, if everything's present and correct, this is a pre-record, Lucas Rafael Baez. Hopey Price, anyone who's been following this channel, we're fans of his, more so probably me than anyone else, if I'm being painfully honest. But, he's 6-0, 2 stoppages, and we've seen noticeable improvements from him in his last 2 fights against Claudio Grande and then Zahid Hussein that was on the Headingley card. Got the stoppage then, and he's looking good now. We're starting to see, we've referred to it before as his man strength, and that's the bit that excites me. He's got a great training team with Dave Caldwell, and I'm excited to see what's next for him. And to be fair, this is a good finish to the year for him, because Baez is coming in at 37 wins, 20 losses, and then 5 draws, no contests, all the rest of it. But there's 20 stoppages on his record. Now, you go through it, it's a bit of a mixed bag, sort of as you'd expect with the losses. But he's experienced, he knows the tricks of the trade, and I'm excited to see how Hopey sort of copes with that. Don't get me wrong, I'm backing Hopey to win and win well. I don't know if we'll see the stoppage, but I think we'll see a dominant, at least points win. Good end to the year for him. I'll take him to 7-0. And then, hopefully this time next year, we're talking about Hopey Price challenging for titles. Yeah, definitely. I think it wouldn't be quite fair to call Baez a journeyman just because of, some people might do. But you look, as you say, his win record's better than his losses. And it is by quite some margin. I mean, there is 5 draws in there, but as you've alluded to, he's got the same amount of knockouts as he has losses. So, it's an experienced opponent for Hopey Price. But Ben, would you agree with Josh? It's one that you expect him to get over the line with.
Yeah, it's hard not to echo what Josh has said, because Hopey Price is a great talent and he is getting better and he's starting to get those knockdowns now, which has been important. But I think he's 4th fight this year, so he's really active, which is exciting to see. But it's always hard when you haven't got the 12-rounder. So, you've got to try and do it. That's why this bloke's got so many draws, isn't it? Because there's less rounds to the fight. I just think each time he's improved, he's looked better, and he's a future world champion. He's got a huge year ahead of him. And this has been a huge year anyway, and he's such a great talent. It's great to see him out and so active.
For sure. We're going to go a bit further up the card now. Someone else that we're a massive fan of on the channel, Chris Billam-Smith. He's coming up against Dillian Bregion. Of course, both at the moment got 1 losses to the name, but I think it's fair to say, Josh, isn't it? I think Chris Billam-Smith has a bit more of a formidable fight card for me, a bit more formidable opponents, or are you going to disagree with that?
No, definitely not. Billam-Smith, we're big fans of him, as you say. 13-1, 10 stoppages. He's the European champion now. Confidence is on a high. In that Shane McGuigan camp, bar obviously Anthony Fowler losing to Liam Smith last time out. That camp is just full of young, talented fighters who are they're all on the cusp of something. Obviously, Lawrence Coley is a world champion. So that'd be a great camp for him to be involved in. His sparring will be quality, thinking of the likes of Lawrence Coley, Dubois. And, as you said, the loss to Richard Riatpour. Okay, yeah, Riatpour's now back with Sky and Boxer. And hopefully, I'll be honest, I hope Billam-Smith wins this. And I think he will win it. He'll win it well. And really, he's 1 or 2 fights away from, for me, a world title shot. But I hope this is a little precursor. Obviously, I know We've also got Riatpur back out shortly.
Yeah.
But that's the rematch that gets made. You know, we can see that again. I'd back Billam-Smith to do it this time. More active, good training, and it's a different fight to what it was. As for Bregian, 11-1, 3 stoppages. He's only fought in France, other than his last time out, which was in Milan. From the little bits of I've seen of him, he's not a bad fighter, but I still accept Billam-Smith to win this comfortably. It's a good European title defence. And then, like I say, I want the Riatpur rematch, and I don't think I'll be alone in that.
Well, I mean, you've alluded to the fact that he usually fights in France. Let's hope he doesn't, go along with the French way and have that white flag wave in the fight at the weekend.
That's it. Start a race for you.
Casually brushing past that. I'm going to ask you about the Riatpur fight that Josh has talked about. Now, I was quite shocked to say, if I'll be completely honest, Josh, in your view that you think Billam-Smith would win that one. But Ben, we've got a bit of a disagreement almost, and I'm going to throw it for once. It's going to be you that's got the deciding vote. If there was that fight, who would you be backing out the two? And I'm guessing you think he gets over the line this weekend too.
Yeah, I do think he gets over the line. I think if the fight was next week, I'd back Billam-Smith. But when we see Riatpur out again before the end of the year, it could change because we don't know if he's all that ring rust has gone, he puts on a good performance, and he looks like the old Richard Riatpur, then my opinion might sway. So I think I'm not going to fully go out there yet. But on this fight, I'm surprised we aren't seeing the McCarthy rematch, if I'm honest. I honestly thought that from what happened at the fight...
Josh disagrees.
No, I am. It was me, Billam-Smith won, but a lot of people believed it wasn't an easy victory, and a lot of people had downs a draw, or even McCarthy. I'm surprised that we're not going that way, because it was an exciting fight.
But could the same argument not be made for Billam-Smith? He lost to Riatpur on a split decision, very close fight. He didn't get his rematch, and it's at the same level, in fairness. So if I'm Billam-Smith, I'm thinking, right, I'll go and make a few quid on this Sheffield card, and then it's on to bigger and better things. And I haven't heard too much out of Tommy McCarthy's camp. He wasn't he in the immediate aftermath. Oh yeah, let's do it again. But we didn't get those sustained calls. We want that Billam-Smith rematch.
Well, no, I think it's straight after you got a lot of people calling for it. So straight after, I did think it's what we're going to see. But then, as we are looking forward now, I think you're right. If we don't have the Riatpur fight next, I do think he's going to head towards that world title shot, because I'm looking into him, looking all the ins and outs to him. He's WBA 5th, WBC 7th, IBF 4th, WBO 7th, IBO 6th. I didn't realise he was that high up all the rankings. And to me, he is 3 fights away from a title shot somewhere, and he's done well to get there. And I think, like you said as well, Riatpur fight, he comes through that, if he gets it, then that does push him on to stop calling out the world champions.
I mean, the title, the rankings are always interesting, though, aren't they, Ben? I mean, currently one of the heavyweight boxing have Joe Joyce near the top, so that tells you all you need to know, in my opinion. But that's for another story. We'll move on to the big female clash coming at the weekend. Obviously, Terri Harper, she's in action, and it's a super featherweight title. She's coming up against, and try and say this name after 3, 4, 5 pints. I'm not even going to attempt the first name, but Baumgardner. I hope I haven't absolutely butchered that. I probably have. But of course, she's got 10 wins, 1 loss. Obviously, it's a decent record, but I don't know. I think Terri Harper's got this one. Ben, do you agree?
Yeah, I think I'll back Terri Harper in a lot of fights. She's a good operator, but the worry comes with her being out the ring for pretty much a year. It's been exactly a year, and that was because of her hand injury. She had to pull out that fight earlier in the year. But before this, there's only been 2. The longest out the ring she's been is 6 months, and she's done that twice. That's it. She's so active. So I wonder how the ring rust is going to wear, but I think it's a good fight. I'm not going to try to pronounce her name, but her opponent, she's not the best opponent, but she's not the worst as well. I feel like she's just right. It's like Goldilocks. She's just right for Terri Harper to come back against. And then she will come on top, I believe. And then there's big fights. There's Delphine, Bassoon. There's after the fight on the weekend. Let me try and pronounce her name again. There's Michaela Mayer. After her win on the weekend. She holds 2 belts in that division. And I think there's big fights for Harper next year, and it's going to be a big year. And I see there'll be an undisputed tournament in that division if the promoters can get on the same page.
Definitely. And I think, as you said, Ben, handing it back to Josh, obviously, as Ben has said, he's described it as the middle porridge, the one that's just right for Terri Harper. Do you agree? And do you think she's going to have any issues, or is this going to be a nice fight to come back into, and one that she should easily or comfortably get over the line? I think we might have lost Josh.
No, are you there?
Oh, there we go.
Back.
Question. Yeah, I'm guessing you heard the question.
I heard the question, yeah. For once, I think we've got a Between the Ropes TV first. Me and Ben are totally on the same page with this. I think it's...
Porridge is right.
The porridge is right, mate. I think it's a good comeback fight. As Ben said, 12 months out, I think Terri Harper's going to want to try and get some rounds in. And I think she may look for a late stoppage. When you're looking, I think it's Alicia Baumgardner. But I think that's it. When you look at her, it is a somewhat padded record, but it's that age-old thing that we have talked about quite a lot. The depth in some women's divisions, it's just not there. She's ranked well, obviously, as you'd expect. So, I think this is just a good shake the ring rust off. And then, as Ben quite right, Michaela Mayer, that's a great fight. Unifications, and it's probably just made harder now by the fact that Natasha Jonas has signed with Sky and Boxer, and obviously Joe Gallagher, Eddie Hearn, they've all sort of fell out over what went on in Liverpool in October. But for me, that's still the rematch. Terri Harper's a massive talent, and I'm a huge, huge fan of hers. However, I'm not the only one, and I thought Jonas beat her. And for me, that is, we talk a lot about fighters' pride on here, and sometimes we get slagged off for it. But for me, there is far too many question marks on that fight for her to not go and do it again.
For it not to happen.
That's the fight I want to see it before she goes into unifications, but I don't think we'll get it now, sadly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting one, isn't it? That, and as you say, I don't think it's one that probably will happen. We'll move on to the main event, and I'm really happy to see Kid Galahad back in action. But I don't know, maybe it's just me. I can't say I'm excited about this fight. I really can't. Kiko Martinez, he's got 10 losses to his name, 2 draws, and yes, he's got 42 wins. And okay, yes, there's a bit of danger to him. But me personally, I'm not really that excited coming up against Kid Galahad, 18-1. Kid Galahad's gonna win this, isn't he?
Kid Galahad, yeah, he's gonna win it. I'd say it's a fairly routine defense. It's his homecoming. It's in Sheffield.
There is that.
So I think he's coming off a big win in how he beat Jazza Dickens, isn't he? In all fairness, he won that fight well. There was always, immediately he said, "I want big fights." Eddie Hearn said, "Well, we'll get you out in Sheffield." And Matchroom do like to spread their shows, don't they? So Kell Brook was the go-to guy for Sheffield. Obviously, now Kid Galahad is that man. And I expect it to, like you said, Scott, be a routine defense. He'll come through it, provided Lee Wood gets past Mickey Conlon. I think that's the fight we'll see springtime next year. But in fairness to Martinez, and I've put this on our Twitter and Instagram page as well, he's 42 wins, 10 losses, 29 stoppages. We know he can punch, and he's a hard night's work for anybody, even at 35. But some of his losses, into context, Gary Russell, Josh Warrington, Leo Santa Cruz, Scott Quigg, Carl Frampton, and more recently Zelfa Barrett in a very closely fought fight. In fact, he has lost at elite level. So for me, it's a little bit like Derek Chisora, aging warrior. And although you see, well, that's a lot of losses, when you actually delve a little bit deeper into it, all those names I've just reeled off, there is absolutely, they're all former world champions or current world champions, even in the likes of Gary Russell. And while I think he's past it, I do think it could be a worse fight, and Martinez will be their game. He won't do an Eric Molina and just turn up for the payday.
I mean, this is a face that's not impressed. To compare him to Derek Chisora. No, just get off. Get off the channel, Josh.
Well, it's probably worth mentioning we'll be going to Derek Chisora's fight, won't we? So
we are. Derek Chisora is gonna knock Parker out, but that is for another day. Ben, let's talk about the Kid Galahad fight. Of course, we're in all the abomination of a comment Josh has just made, but it should be a pretty routine defense, shouldn't it?
I think so. Well, I mean, the thing is, they're doing exactly what they said at the end of that at the end of the fight at Fight Camp, isn't it? Like Josh said, fight in Sheffield, and then they said next year he's going to go and unify titles in the division. So it's just a title defense, isn't it? It's a good one. I think Martinez is a decent name on your record. He's a former world champion, but he's not going to go in there to get rolled over. He'll still look to beat Galahad, so it's going to keep him on his toes. It's still going to keep him at a decent enough level for him to roll on. And if he gets out unscathed, he rolls on to next year and gets an early fight, hopefully. I think that's what it's there for. It's just to give Sheffield a fighter defend the world title. But it's good to see. I think you need fights like this. You've still got to set it up, and everyone else is tied up with fights. So I think it's a good match for him.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you've said. Actually, I don't know. It's just me. I'm being a bit of a grump. I'd like to see him head to Sheffield in what's going to be a real war. Of course, that's just always catchphrase, but it's not going to be a war. It's going to be it's just going to be a nice win, isn't it? But guys, let us know your thoughts. Are you looking forward to this event? Is there anything we've said as usual which you disagree with? Josh's comment about comparing. Obviously, Mr. Derek Chisora.
I want to see if we can get some love for Ben's porridge metaphor.
It wasn't a bad one for me, was it?
There's been a few highlights on this one. Let us know in the comments what you think in general, and we shall see you on the next video. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys.